Want some? Get some.
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get to Omaha. I can promise you that.
Painted purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
Welcome into the Sports Objective. We're coming to you here on a Tuesday night, just 2.5 weeks from the start of the East Carolina baseball season. And tonight we're talking Pirate baseball in a variety of ways. The first half hour, we're joined by a former ECU strength and conditioning coach on the baseball side, and that is Brandon Golden from the Ghost Lab and the Ghost Travel Ball organization. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bubba. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Appreciate you, spending a half hour or so with us tonight, taking a trip down memory lane with the Pirates, but then also what you have going on now. So you are a 2012 ECU alum.
Yep.
So for folks, who haven't heard from you before, maybe they've heard the name, but tell folks about your association with East Carolina University.
Yeah, like you said, went to undergrad at East Carolina, graduated in 12, was, an intern strength coach at a couple of different places. I'm sure we'll kind of get into that a little bit. Had a career and then was fortunate enough to come back to East Carolina and be a part of, like you said, the baseball program there and help out with, several different sports. And, then went on to professional baseball and, got to work with the Dodgers. And, like you said, I'm back here in High Point working, owning our own facility at the Ghost Lab. And we're starting some travel teams and got a few Pirates helping us out a little bit there. So, yeah, it's kind of come full circle a little bit.
I know your undergrad degree was in health and fitness. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then you got a master's from St. John's, obviously very proud baseball tradition there, and having the opportunity to work with Coach Blankmeyer. When did that desire to work in strength and conditioning, first of all, but then also college baseball, how did that come about?
Yeah. So when I left East Carolina, came back home, started interning at High Point University. So prior to that, I was actually working at High Point Hospital as almost like an intern with respiratory and cardiac therapy. That's what I thought I wanted to do. My dad had emphysema, and I was like, hey, I want to help people that have breathing issues and cardiac issues and things like that, kind of help them get back on their feet. And that I found out quickly that wasn't for me. And like I said, got to be over at High Point University, was there for 1.5 years, went down to Mississippi State. And, was my first team that I was with, and the team that I was with mainly was baseball. And just watching the way that the weight room and performance and just all of strength conditioning and everything that we can do, as strength coaches and performance coaches that played into the product on the field, it was fascinating to me. And that's, kind of where it took hold from the baseball side of things. And then, to your point, went up to St. John's and, I was with baseball again, and, one of the full-time staff members who was training baseball left, and I ended up being, the strength and conditioning coach for baseball as a graduate assistant and doing very similar things that I did as an assistant, in my time at East Carolina. So it just went that way and stuck. And now I'm the baseball guy, one of them.
So during your time at Mississippi State, that was with John Cohen?
Yep. So Coach Cohen was the head coach. Minge was the third base coach. Coach Butch Thompson was the pitching coach, and Brian Neal was the head strength coach, who's kind of been in the game for a long time, and he was at Virginia Tech a little bit. But great staff and great opportunity and some awesome players, and it was a whole lot of fun down there in Starkville.
Yeah, not a bad place to kind of cut your teeth in the business.
Not at
there,
all.
there at Mississippi State. What a beautiful ballpark. Unfortunately, did not have the opportunity to go when East Carolina played there in that midweek game. You had the spring break swing with Ole Miss and Mississippi State, I believe, Tuesday, Wednesday, Starkville, then Oxford. My dad and a couple of his friends made that trip, and that was definitely one for the ages.
Yeah, that was a fun one. It was cold. It was cold, but it was good to be down there. The stadium was completely different from, my time there. It was obviously it's a beautiful park what they've done down there, but for me, like the nostalgia of like having the trucks out back and things like that up against the wall was really cool. And I mean, obviously it's better than a lot of AAA parks in the country, but be able to play for our guys to be able to play in that atmosphere, in that environment, and then get on the bus and go over to Oxford, and Cooch had a pretty good start to that game, and we ended up getting the W down there in Oxford, so it was fun.
Yeah, Cooch had a decent day. 8 2/3 of perfect baseball, or at least hitless baseball. And
it was. I'm 99% sure it was hitless. I don't know if it was perfect, but yeah, it was. Ryder and I were talking about that the other day. It was a pretty good outing, I would say.
And then of course, 10 days, 2 weeks later, he went up after a solid midweek outing in relief, I think it was, against Duke, went up and did what he did at Maryland, and my dad was lucky enough to be at that one as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that was awesome. And, we were talking before we got rolling, Bubba, about Corey Mascara and, my relationship with him. Corey was actually, the pitching coach at Maryland then. So when Cooch, did that, and they sent him the rubber and he made a lamp out of it and everything. But I think it was like a week later, and I texted Moose and was like, "Hey man, like I need one of those Maryland balls." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Just mail me a ball with the Maryland logo on it." So I have a ball. It's not behind me right now, but it's at the house with that Cooch signed for me that has the Maryland logo on it. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool that now after having a perfect game thrown against you, that they did that for Cooch. Trying to remember how many that was in college baseball history, but he's part of an elite club.
Yeah, I believe it was 29.
Okay, I thought it was right there around 30, but I wasn't. I was second guessing myself there, but yeah,
I'm not positive either. But again, I was talking with somebody the other day, and I'm pretty sure his number was 29 in college. I think that was the number of perfect games at that point in time.
But after that experience at Mississippi State with Coach Cohen, tell us how you wound up choosing St. John's for to get your master's there, and the experience there you had over at least 2, maybe 3 seasons with Coach Blankmeyer, who's just a legend in the game.
Yeah, so came back home. I interned. One of the guys who was an assistant at High Point University was an assistant over at Wake Forest, so I got to go over to Wake for that summer and intern with the basketball team with Coach Ryan Horn, and then do a little bit with a lot of the Olympic sports, and just trying to figure out where was I going to go, what were the things that I was looking for in a graduate assistantship, and it was school paid for and the ability to coach. So to be on the floor, learning, coaching, being a part of something, and that was the school that gave me the best opportunity. There was a potential opportunity to stay at Mississippi State, but my mentor, Brian Neal, like I was talking about a minute ago, was like, I mean, we can talk about you maybe staying here if you really want to. He was like, but like, you need to go out and you need to learn something different. You need to be in a different environment. And when he said that, it kind of took hold, in my thought process, and what I was looking for was, okay, I grew up in the South. I've been in the South my entire life, was down in Starkville. I'm back here. It's like, where would I be the most uncomfortable? And it's like, well, I mean, New York City, like in Jamaica, Queens, and, being a part of the Northeast is just a completely different lifestyle than, anything that I've lived, that I had lived up until that point. And, when I got the opportunity to go there and, work with that staff, and, like I was saying a little bit earlier, like things just worked out to where, next thing I know, I'm traveling with the team, and I'm setting up things from a nutrition standpoint, and you're meeting with ADs, and doing a lot of things that, I was doing as a full-time assistant. It was pretty awesome to have the opportunity to be with Blanks, Moose, Coach Mike Hampton, who's the head coach there now, and a lot of the other support staff who's still in the game. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, obviously St. John's proud baseball tradition, and I recall during those years, and you guys came and played in the Keith LeClaire Classic. I think it was Cliff's first or second year, and we were discussing off the air before we went live. I think that was when Michigan, ran into the snow, and they were unable to make it to Greenville, and then you had UNCG filling in.
Yeah, you're right. I believe that was in 2015. We came down. It was funny. Rode a bus. We went down and played at Charleston Southern, and then came up and played Greenville. I remember played at East Carolina. I remember getting into Greenville, in the middle of the night, and these guys are like from New Jersey and all over the place up north, and they're hollering at me like, "Where are we?" Like I was like, "Hey, we're almost there, boys!" Like coming in from Charleston. It was pretty funny, but it was fun. It was exciting for me to be back.
But that program, right there with UConn and a select few in the Northeast, as far as kind of the standard and making it to super regionals and the NCAA tournament on a consistent basis. But during those years, in addition to cutting your teeth with the Red Storm, you also had the chance to work for Team USA Collegiate, something East Carolina fans definitely know a lot about. With most recently, Trey Savage pitching for them last summer. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was awesome. Blanks was the head coach. There was a lot of really high level head coaches that were on that staff. Paul Manieri, Elliot Avent, Rich Hill. Like there was just so many different people that were a part of that staff, and being able to meet them, learn from them, sit next to them on the bus as we're going to Charlotte, and just having those 3 to 4 weeks to just learn about the game of baseball and learn how they coach, who they are as people in that type of environment where you're not playing against each other. And obviously the talent that was there. I'm looking at the jersey I got from that year, and there's probably 6 or 7 big leaguers names on that jersey right there, and it was a pretty cool experience. And to be in the dugout in the Charlotte Knights Stadium on the 4th of July, playing Cuba. I want to say we won 9-2 with the USA chant. Like, doesn't get much better than that. Excuse me, sorry about that. But yeah, it doesn't get much better than that with a USA chant, on 4th of July and in fireworks.
You talk about before you went to St. John's wanting a unique experience. So describe that unique experience. What were some takeaways you had from a legend like Coach Blankmeyer, and then just the way you grew during that few years there?
Yeah, the unique side of things was definitely the weight room was downstairs in Carnesecca Arena. That's an old building where it's right on the outside of of the basketball stadium where Chris Mullins played, and Mark Jackson, like all those guys that came through the St. John's basketball program. It was down, and you didn't know if it was sunny outside, if it was raining, if there was 3 feet of snow outside. You had no idea. We had a aux gym where there was 2 cages that would drop down from the ceiling where we would go live in. And then there was a room, we called it the mirror room, where there was a bunch of mirrors where the dance team would do stuff. So, nowhere near the facilities that we had when I was, at East Carolina and, some of these other programs. But, we just made it work, and we had, different challenges. Like our guys didn't have, a nutritionist, food, like things like that. Like I would go down to the local BJ's, Blanks would give me his credit card or, the Team P card or whatever, and say that I'd go get peanut butter and jellies. I was like, hey, these guys have to eat. We have to figure out how to get them fueling. We had chocolate milk coming. We had honey stingers from campus dining. Like I would literally go over there with a hand truck and get cases of milk and bring it over. And, we would, throw it in a fridge. I talked somebody into donating, and, it was just, it was a really unique way of, it was kind of like, hey, you got to figure it out. And this is what we have, but like, we still have to go out and compete against these people. And, we did, and we were in the regional final against Arkansas and the Oklahoma State regional that year. So, as far as like the uniqueness of it, it was just like, here's the task at hand. And the task is to go out, train the guys at the highest level, be a part of the program, help develop. I was with Corey Muscara almost daily watching video Bone, with Danny Benedetti, our volunteer, like doing so much, just learning the game and how to support them. People talk about this all the time, and the performance staff, the strength and conditioning, the athletic training, that entire staff is a support staff to the coaches and the players. And I took that to heart, especially early on in my career. Was like, if I can make the staff, if I can give them some information that's going to allow them to do their job better, which is going to allow them to coach our players better or develop them, it's going to behoove the entire program, and we're going to be in a situation that we all want to be in. So just understanding and learning how to do that at a young age in my career was definitely unique and something that I treasure. Like, it was something that was very valuable to me.
I guess it was there late in 2016, following Cliff's second year with the Pirates and coming off a super regional berth against Texas Tech, where the Pirates were literally 90 feet from Omaha on multiple occasions. And the opportunity arose for you to come home, so to speak, very early on in your career. Take us back, I guess, about 7 years ago, and what was that like? How did that all transpire?
Yeah, I remember that game. I remember I was a strength coach, as an assistant at Charleston Southern. My wife and I we were living with my boss and his family at the time, Chad Scott, who's the head strength and conditioning coach at Liberty now. And they lived in this little neighborhood right out in Somerville. It's called Nexton, where you could get in a golf cart, drive down to a little restaurant. And so we were at this little restaurant bar, eating dinner, watching the Pirates play. And, a couple weeks later, I saw there was a position open at East Carolina. Actually knew Blaine Kinsley from, being, in the area and just being in the field. And I came down to visit Coach C at one point in time, and Blaine took me out to the stadium and took me through the A marches, A skips, all the different lunges, everything that, Coach C had a lot of the players doing, and could hardly feel my legs. They were shaking, but I'd known Blaine for years. And so I texted him and asked him, hey, like, what position is this? Is this something I'd be qualified for? And he was like, it's my job. And so then I reached out to, everybody that I knew, including the staff from USA Baseball, Coach Avent, Paul Manieri, Eric Campbell, Blanks, like everybody. I had anybody and everybody that, and Cliff will tell you this, like anybody and everybody that I knew that I thought would be able to reach out to him on my behalf, I had them do, and pulled every string to try to get an interview.
So once you were able to land the position, of course, as I mentioned, coming off of the very successful 2016, Coach Godwin, such high expectations, and we've heard, East Carolina baseball is what it is for a reason. That's because it starts with Cliff and the standard that he has for the program. So give us a glimpse behind the curtain, what it's like, and what Coach Godwin just excels at as far as holding the bar so high.
Right. Yeah. That's a great point. I think CG's talked about this a lot, but 2017 played a big role in the culture that's there today, and how things have transpired. I'll never forget one of my first times being on the field, like media day and stuff like that, and people were telling me how we were preseason number 6 in the country, and we were going to Omaha and returning 9 seniors, and all of these different things, and it was eye-opening, and it was that year was a lot. Like, that was a pretty stressful year, obviously. We're not used to losing as Pirates and part of that program, but we got our we got beat around a little bit at times, and I think that played into how Coach set things up moving forward, and just the attention to detail and the way that he demanded it from all of us, not just the players. My first son was born August 24th of 2017, so like right there in that fall time, and there was times where I was 28 at the time, and had a brand new baby, and he would have the guys do daily schedules. And at one point he called me in the office and he's like, hey, I think this is a really good thing for you to do. Like, I know you've got a lot going on, but like, I need you to be at a certain level of your game, so we we as an organization can have the things that we need from you and from that position. And it was, at the time, it was kind of like, man, like he's telling me I need to write down everything I'm going to do, like at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. But it was super, super beneficial. And it's something that I still do when I feel myself, getting overwhelmed, or if I have too much stuff going on. Like, I mean, today, for example, went over to Wake Forest. Gavin was throwing a bullpen, had some personal things I had to run by and check on my mom. She's in the hospital right now, but, then I was able to come back, watch a couple bullpens, so I was able to kind of, over the past, week or so, as things start to get a little fast, like I just plan my stuff out. So back to your point, Cliff, he's very specific with what he wants, at least he was with me, and how the person and the personnel within the organization are going to play a role in the development and the ultimate wins and losses on the field. So, he does a great job of empowering people and giving them the autonomy to do what they feel like is best within their position. So it was a really fun time early on in my career, but it was also one where, like, again, like I feel pretty lucky with the way my career's gone, because you look at the way, I was able to do things early on at St. John's, and then I get to East Carolina, and I'm working for Coach C and CG, who are very specific coaches in the way they want things done, and they're two of the best to ever do what they do. Like, Coach C is one of the best, if not the best, as far as speed goes in college football and all of athletics. What Coach G has done on the field at East Carolina speaks for itself, and to be a part of that and have those two guys molding me early on was special.
I remember it well. As you mentioned, after that 2017 conference tournament, the Pirates made a run, came up shy against Houston, and Coach Godwin just said that ad nauseum, throughout the offseason and going into the 2018 season, that I really don't think we would be where we are had it not been for that. As much as that loss hurt at the time, I wouldn't change a thing.
Right.
So, and you could definitely, as someone, who did have a, coaching and, playing background, as strange as it sounded, I understood where he was coming from, because, just it gave you a perspective and, a desire to, do those introspective things to assess yourself, that if we win that and go on to the NCAA tournament for, a third straight year, even if we did finish dead last in the regular season, we may not have had the same perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember the first time I heard him say it too, and it was kind of like you double take, like, wait, what did he just say? But yeah, I completely agree that without that and the amount of preparation that went in from the entire coaching staff and the accountability and just the little things that we did, on a daily basis to get our guys ready for the 18 season. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Pirate baseball is where it's at without that season.
You talk about accountability. A moment ago, you referenced your son being born in August of 2017. Shortly after that, as the fall semester is getting cranked up, one of the things we always hear about and how it lays the foundation for the upcoming season is Mission Week. Talk about your role with that. Not only do you develop the guys physically, but then also that mindset, mental toughness, and all the things that are required in order to be successful in the spring and make that trip to Omaha and hopefully win a national championship.
Right. I mean, Mission Week is a really big deal, and people that haven't been a part of the program and lived it and been involved in it may not necessarily understand it, but like, it means something. And just like the Pirates mission and everything that's involved in that, how we do anything is how we do everything. And the way that Coach G feels about and then felt about, like, hey, we're going to be tougher than everybody. We're going to do things that people aren't doing. We're going to challenge ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally. So when it's time to go out there in the spring and compete, that's easy. Like, we want to challenge our guys to where when it's time to compete, they know that they're more prepared than the other team in the other dugout. And we were every time we stepped out there, and the wins and losses proved it. But I mean, I guess as far as, my involvement, I was very involved in it. My first year, Coach Rozelle helped out a lot with it, and had some things that the staff with Blaine and other folks on staff that did before I got there. And then as I was there a little bit longer, it was mostly mine, and I would consult with some of the staff and obviously Coach G and get his input and what we were trying to accomplish there.
Along those lines, obviously there's certain things you probably can't dive into, but as it pertains to those winter workouts or the early mornings, cold mornings, I know Coach G referenced this as far as he said back in his day playing for Coach LeClaire, he had them crawling under barbed wire and so forth in what is now the Pirate Premium lot, the old white lot.
Oh yeah,
for longtime Pirate fans and crawling through the mud. But for someone that has not played college athletics or specifically baseball in this case, just tell folks what those workouts are like. Very challenging both physically and mentally.
Yeah, I mean they were definitely demanding. We would have guys line up, and I remember Lane Hoover's freshman year, in the summer, I would tell the guys very specifically how we were going to stretch and exactly how to do like a world's greatest stretch, where you come up, you grab your knee, you pull it to your chest, you step out in almost like a lunge position, you get your elbow to the ground, more like a groin type stretch. You do a hamstring stretch, and then you kind of go into the next one. And, one of the big things was like attention to detail and, communicating and being aware of your surroundings and what your teammates are doing and things like that. And, I was talking with Lane about it. I don't know. He came to our grand opening that we had a few weeks ago, and then we went out and had dinner, and we were talking. He's like, man, when he messed it up, it was pretty funny looking back on it. It wasn't funny for them at the time, but they messed up, and I was like, hey, this is exactly how we want to do it. I had Lane demonstrate it, come out. Does anybody have any questions? Do we understand what we're trying to accomplish here? Yeah, man. Yeah, BG, we got it. So blew the whistle. We did it again. Lane doesn't do it properly. So it's like, all right, everybody backpedal to home plate and back. And we were on the practice football field on the turf. So, just allowing them to understand that there's consequences for everything. And, there's things that, positive, negative, that's just life in general. So, they quickly learned as freshmen coming into our program that, this is the way we do things. And yeah, I mean, the early morning workouts, and we would run 300s early in the morning, kind of do things that we need to do there. And obviously in the weight room, it was pretty challenging as well, but it was challenging mentally, physically. There would be times where I would, switch the order of things to make sure that, they were locked in and just able to come in and do what was asked and not necessarily, worry about the X's and O's. Just, all right, what do I have to do right now? And then what do I have to do after that? And how do they take care of their teammates within that as well?
You referenced Lane Hoover, obviously very fondly thought of by Pirate Nation and with the career he had. And Cliff referenced or said multiple times during the 2023 season, just that, when he took him out of the lineup, he said, hey, I had to be an idiot for not playing the guy, to his credit. And whether it's a Lane Hoover or Spencer Brickhouse, Bryant Packard, Alec Burleson, so many great players you had the opportunity to coach.
Yeah.
Who are some of those guys that were tremendous leaders and why they stood out?
Yeah, no, I mean, all those guys you mentioned were, unbelievable. Being able to be a little small part of, what they did in their career, their college career, especially, obviously. Had a chance to work with Burley last offseason. His fiance at the time, now wife, is from High Point, so he would train. This is before we had the facility here at the lab. He was training with me in the garage out back, and be able to work with Packard and Brick and watch what those guys have done. And Washer's here now talking about like a leader behind the plate and get things done for us. But there were so many guys that led in their own way, even if they weren't necessarily guys that came up in the big spot at the plate or got the big strikeout or whatever. Like the program breeds leaders and people that understand what we're trying to accomplish. And there's two ways to do things. It's the right way and then again. So, I mean, they learned that really early on. And, there'd be times where some older guys didn't want to do stuff again. So they would make sure the younger guys were being pulled along and vice versa. Some young guys didn't want to do stuff again. And, they would make sure, we would give them the opportunity to talk as a team, when in different, training environments and bring the guys up and kind of handle the situation. So as to answer your question, Bubba, like there's a too many leaders to mention, but there was Nick Barber, Turner Brown, there's so many guys that were able to, in their own ways, like come up and influenced their teammates in a positive way.
So during your time in Greenville, what was some of your top memories? Obviously, in 2018, the Pirates hosted a regional, and then the following year hosted a regional once again, and were able to capitalize and win it that time.
Yeah, I mean, winning the conference tournament down in Clearwater in 18 was pretty awesome. Just that environment was awesome for the guys. Obviously, there wasn't a whole bunch of fans there, some Pirate fans everywhere, but that was a really cool one. The year when we played Carolina, Friday night at our place, Saturday in Durham, then Sunday in Chapel Hill was outstanding. I think that was probably one of Trey Benton's best outings on Friday night. In Greenville, we beat them 2-1, and then we go to Durham, and I mean Brick hits a bomb to I believe dead center, and we ended up losing that game, but then we come back and beat them 12-0 at their place on Sunday. It was pretty awesome. The 19 regional when we beat State, and I think I mentioned this on Pirate Radio the other day, but when CG went and got Agnos, it was pretty awesome. There's just so many different memories as I was watching the intro video. Like there's so many different things, like just watching guys, run around the outfield when we won, and those little moments. There's just so many from us winning, competing, and my wife and I being a part of East Carolina baseball.
And obviously, you're a little biased. You're a Pirate alum, but at the same time, there's no denying where this program is as far as the college baseball landscape is concerned, consistently in the top 15 in attendance, and then also over the last several years, the product on the field.
Right.
So I guess December 2020, tell us about that opportunity you had within the LA Dodgers organization.
Yeah. So was able, had an opportunity to go work with what I at the time believed and still do is one of the best performance departments on the planet as far as sports go. The folks over there, Brandon McDaniel, Brian Stoneberg, Carl Cochin, Eric Yavarone, Travis Smith, from the leadership side of things. The picture that they painted for me and what I was going to be able to accomplish and learn was one that was really hard for me to leave. Obviously, one of my favorite places on the planet in Greenville, but at the age that I was at, and with two young kids, it was something that I felt like I needed to do, and being able to go learn and be a part of a lot of minor league and major league rehabs and learn a different way of doing things from a training standpoint to elicit the response of what we're trying to do on the field was really, really impactful for me. And it's allowed me, to do a lot of the things that I'm doing today. And obviously from a networking standpoint, but more so from a knowledge and development standpoint as a performance coach, and understanding the game a little bit more was definitely helpful for me.
What were some of those top memories, as far as what you were able to see transpire on the field during your time in that organization?
Yeah, I mean, when there was several big league rehabs, AJ Pollock came back, Seager was there. I was in Arizona, so got to work with a lot of those guys, seeing spring training, being a part of the development and rehab process in a way that I hadn't before. Womack and I worked hand in hand in my time at East Carolina, but having the opportunity to talk with, understanding from the front office side of things, from the physical therapist side of things, from the coordinators, from the field coaches to the affiliate managers and hitting coaches. And there's just so many more, I guess, stakeholders within a professional organization than there is college athletics, and especially just one team. Being able to communicate and learn and have just so many more people that are doing things at the highest level of the game was so impactful for me and set me up to really continue my career.
What all went into that decision to get out of professional baseball and go into what you're currently doing? I guess about 3 years now, two years.
Yeah. So I mean it's really simple. So it was my wife and I, we were in the minor leagues. We had 2 little boys, and we were in 4 states in a year. So we were, we have a place in Emerald Isle. So in the off season, we were staying there. We were out in LA a little bit, working with some of our minor league. This was when the strike was going on. So working with some of our minor league guys and things like that. And I shouldn't say strike. I guess the lockout was going on. There was different things there. And then we were in Oklahoma, and then I was in Arizona, and it was pretty tough on my wife and kids. And it was one of those things where we just didn't feel like it was the best thing for us at that point in time with where our family was, and we needed to make a change for our family. It was, but I'll be honest with you, it was one of the scariest things that I've done, and I wasn't sure what the repercussions for my career were going to be, but I knew that keeping my family together and making sure my wife and I's relationship was strong, and being there for my boys would be way more beneficial than any job and any any job there that I could possibly leaving. But and thinking about it now, it's still tough that I'm not a part of it, but I'm able to build things in a way that is conducive to a lot of different people. To my wife. My wife's she was working a full-time job as a health coach. So she's the CEO of the Ghost Lab. She runs a lot of our logistics and all of our scheduling things. So like washer and rider and my schedules, like she handles all that stuff for us. She puts us in a situation to be successful and handles the parents and the billing. And, she's in a spot now where she's feeling fulfilled. Our boys are feeling fulfilled. I'm home every night. I asked Hudson, my oldest, the other day, I was like, hey, do you miss Dodger Stadium and like me working for a team? And he kind of scoffed. He's like, no, not really. Then I was like, why not? And he's like, well, you're home. Like you're home every night. Like I can come to the facility whenever I want. And they obviously could when, I was in Greenville and when I was in pro ball, but, having the ability to dictate the schedule at this point in time in my life and where my family's at it's been really good for us. And, like I was saying earlier, I get to go do some things on my own time. Like I was, with Gavin this morning. I had another professional pitcher come in this afternoon, and you had a high school kid this evening, and we're doing a bunch of different things that are still very, very high level. But it's on my time, and I don't have to, necessarily be in a certain spot. Practice isn't at a certain time. Games aren't at a certain time. I'm able to develop players, when it makes sense for us and our family right now, and learn how to grow a business as well. So it's not a bad setup we got going on right now.
You referenced some very familiar names to Pirate Nation: Ryder Giles, Gavin Williams, Jake Washer. So tell Pirate Nation exactly what they're doing for the Ghost Lab and also the travel organization Carolina Ghost, because we have Johnny Gardner was chiming in. He said, what is the logo on BG's hat?
Yeah. So Gavin, so I'm training. I'm still training Gavin. So like all of his programming, I'm doing that for him. Wash is our director of catching performance. So he handles all the catching stuff here. He does a lot of hitting lessons and things like that. And anybody that knows Washer, especially like our staff at East Carolina, will appreciate this. Like he handles a lot of stuff for me. Like the one of the main reasons is why I wanted him and Ryder and some of these other guys that I've coached to be a part of this business and the travel teams is they know me pretty well. Like I know them obviously, but they know some of my strengths and most importantly, my weaknesses and what I'm not good at. and having them a part of that, it just takes a little bit of burden off me because I've, had conversations with them. Well, hey, you're in this role because of X, Y, and Z, and this is what, the business needs from you, and this is what we need from you to for everybody to be successful. And, that's been really awesome. But, Ryder's our director of player development. Evan Volva is going to, start doing some team stuff for us down in Greenville, in the Greenville area. Turner Brown's going to be one of our coaches. So it's pretty heavily Pirate based. And that was my goal, in doing this. It was never really had a thought process that I wanted to do travel teams. That kind of came up organically talking with, some of these guys and, open up the facility. It just kind of made sense. If they're going to run it, they're going to run the baseball side. I'll run the performance side and the assessments, and we'll kind of run this thing like a minor league organization and make sure the guys and our players have what they need and continue to help them fulfill their dreams and play baseball as long as they can and keep going to the next level.
You talk about Wash, what an Iron Man he was during that 2019 season in general, but then also that the regional run after the Pirates had that setback against Quinnipiac, battle back and Wash. I guess it was between the NC State game and then also the rematch with Quinnipiac. You had Wash just went on a tear. Hit 3 or 4 bombs.
Yeah, he sure did, and it was. I mean, one of the talk about a cool moment. Like I'll never forget Wash coming around third base at one point and like. He cranked that ball and he's like, holy crap, what is going on? I don't know if that's the exact words he used, but it was just like, good Lord. Like he was crushing balls and, putting balls over the trees and probably onto Charles, but that was a fun time.
And you talk about Gavin. Gavin obviously pitched very well in 2023. Unfortunately, not able to get as many wins. I just didn't have the run support. But man, did he pitch well once he got that call up with the Guardians.
Yeah, and that was, another cool moment. Emily and I got to go to Gavin's debut, and it was, Coach Dietz, CG, and Emily and I, on the field for BP, and watching that and being able to be there was a really cool time. And then being able to go out to eat with those guys, with Dietz and CG and my wife, it was a pretty special time to be there for Gavin. And again, like if I'm working, for the Dodgers or, potentially, a different college team, like I don't know if that's possible. So I think God puts us in places and puts us in situations that obviously that we're meant to be in. And, right now I'm feeling really good and really lucky to be kind of in the situation that I'm in right now.
Another former Pirate that's a pitcher in the big leagues is, of course, Sean Armstrong. And tell us about Sean's role. I know you were telling me off the air that he's a part owner with
the Sean
organization.
Sean's amazing. He's a part owner in the lab here in the facility, and he's just been he's been a really we've only been open like 7 or 8 weeks to this point. But he's been amazing being able to like bounce ideas off of and to help. He's kind of mentoring Ryder a little bit, and as far as the pitching side of things go, and how to read track man and how to develop arms and just those different things. And when I have questions, I can bounce ideas off of them. But him and I's paths didn't cross while we were in Greenville, but just being East Carolina guys and being in the baseball world, they've kind of come to that. Our paths have crossed, and we've developed a really cool relationship and bouncing ideas and learning from each other. And at the end of the day, developing players that come through here to continue to go on. And he's a part of just the lab. Just so everybody knows, he's not a part of the teams, but just part of the lab, and he's crushing that.
We of course have plenty of East Carolina alums and fans in the Piedmont part of our state, and with that being the case, whether it's East Carolina fans or just others who may happen to hear this, tell them as far as the location of your facility, how they can find out the information, and if they want a pitching lesson from Ryder Giles or a hitting lesson from Jake Washer or some work behind the plate as a catcher, and just all those things that your facility offers, or on the strength side and speed development side with yourself. And I know you said Jeff Connors, who's part of our team here at the Sports Objective, and host Absolute Empowerment each and every Monday night. He's going to be there very soon.
Yeah, Coach C is coming up not this Saturday, but the following, the 10th, to do a speed clinic, and we actually just posted about that today a little bit. It's gonna be, $50 for athletes to come in and watch, and we're inviting like coaches and athletes of all different sports. But I think it's really important that the baseball world understands like true speed and acceleration. And I got a little gray in my beard, so I've been around this game and in the performance world for a little bit now, and the way he teaches it and the way that his athletes are able to put force in the ground and overcome inertia and all the stuff that C talks about, it's gonna be really fun for the folks around here to listen to and learn from. But as far as being able to learn more about what we do here at the lab, we're still working on a website. We're almost done with that. But right now you can go on Instagram, look us up on the Ghost Lab NC, and then shoot us an email if you want to set up some different lessons and things like that. But we have our whole listing of our offerings. So ghostlabnc at Gmail is our email address, and can send us an email and we can get everything set up. That'll go straight to Emily, and she'll decipher who needs to communicate with the clientele after that.
Sounds great, and we appreciate you being so generous with your time with 45 minutes, and would love to have you back on, where we can talk more specifically about some of the training elements in terms of recovery and so on and so forth.
Yeah, let's do it. You let me know. I would love to.
Pirate Nation, that is former ECU strength and conditioning coach and the owner and operator of the Ghost Lab. Of course, that is Brandon Golden, and Brandon, we'll talk to you real soon, and let's hope it's an excellent 2024 for ECU baseball. I know it will be.
That's right. Thanks, Bubba.
Now let's bring in author Bethany Bradsher. And I know some big news dropped here in the last couple of days, and here, I guess, about 2.5 months from now, Pirate Nation will have the opportunity to get its hands on your most recent book, and that is Never Take This for Granted, talking about the relationship that exists between Pirate Nation and, of course, the ECU baseball program.
Yes, it is very exciting. This is a book that I've probably enjoyed the process of putting together and just conceptualizing how to do it and the stories to tell and the interviews. I mean, none of it has felt like work from the beginning. So it's been really fun for it to become public, even though a lot of the people I've talked to, which I think was 50 some odd people, obviously knew, and people I was hanging around with as I kind of followed the team last season were certainly aware as well. So it's just been a treat. And so just to have people, yesterday I had someone say, "How can I get an early copy?" I said, "Well, the thing is it hasn't been printed yet." So, but I appreciate the eagerness and can't wait until we can have it in our hands.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Had caught a little bit of wind of it. I didn't know exactly what was going to be happening, but from Jared Plummer, who runs the @ECU Jungle account on X, he said, "Stay tuned for some exciting news," and this is definitely very exciting. This is something, a relationship that goes back several decades. I think back to my childhood during the Coach Gary Overton era, and at old Harrington Field, and some of the good times that were had in the jungle, albeit a much different jungle than the one that currently exists.
Yeah, it was really fun to get to hear some of those Harrington Field stories. I moved here in 1999, but I had a lot of little babies and I never went to a game out there. So I regret that now, but it's just been amazing to hear, people like Tony Brown and Charlie Martin, the OG jungle, kind of founders, talk about Harrington Field, and others like Heath Clark. I talked with Heath, who played there at that field, and his mom, Glo Clark, was legendary. She's a fan and out there who was one of the people that kind of instigated building the makeshift bleachers out at Harrington. So, the beginning of so many of the traditions that have endured and are such an important part of the Clark LeClaire experience, had their roots at Harrington. So that was one of the things I was determined to get, is to talk to some of those old time fans who were out there when it was just a few guys standing out there eating hot dogs or cooking, ribs on the grill.
Yeah, and Dr. Henry Van Sant was a regular out there, and of course has a seat memorialized, in his honor in center field. I recall him, killing a lot of popcorn at the old Harrington Field in those that row or two of seats that were constructed in center field.
Yeah, it's
But
my one.
go ahead.
I was going to say one of my favorite stories that we go into detail in the book, but Tony Brown told me is, they were building those stands during a doubleheader, and so they had a plan, and they came with tools and lumber and everything, and if they needed more, then Glow Clark would get on the phone to Bill Clark and get what they needed. But they built it throughout a Saturday during a doubleheader, and they would just stop the construction whenever the game was being played. But anytime there was an inning change or a pitching change or between games, they would furiously start start the process again and finished it in a day as they watched two ball games, which is some pretty great multitasking.
You talk about having conversations with more than 50 people in writing this book, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But found this pin quote or pin post on X, and again, this is Jared Plummer at ECU Jungle. He said, just talking about don't take this for granted. He has that a lot on his baseball post on X, and he's talking about every aspect of it and just enjoying all the success that the program's having. That whether it's the jungle jumping after wins or series sweeps, putting up the broom on the sweep pole in left field, which used to be the sweep tree at Old Harrington Field, and just embracing everything that comes with winning baseball.
Yeah, and in fact, normally Jared puts "never take this for granted," and I have decided, with his permission, to use that as the title for the book because it so beautifully sums up, the attitude of Pirate fans that are just always kind of propelled by hope and by the knowledge that their team's going to be great year after year, but their love for the program no matter what. And so it was really fun because he was also kind of my right-hand man through this process of helping connect me with people and find phone numbers and find pictures. And as you know him, he's very quick, very responsive and helpful in every way. So it was fun to kind of evoke that account a little bit in the title of the book.
What were those initial conversations and thoughts like, that gave you the passion to write a book like this?
Well, it was funny. My first book was Coaching Third, the Keith LeClaire story, which I've been on your show to talk about in the past. And that book came out in 2010. And since then, I'm right here in Greenville. I live, 2 miles from Clark LeClaire, but I have not written another East Carolina book unless I wrote a book about George Whitfield, and he did coach at East Carolina a little bit, but George did so many other things. So other than that, I've written this book coming out in April will be my 16th book. So 14 books in the middle have been about other things. Some have been more than half have been books for other people, like collaborative, contractual, either ghostwriting or someone paid me to write a book about something in particular, and it was really their book. So many enjoyable projects, but all along the way, it was kind of like, I think it's time to come back home in my writing. And I used to write for bonesville.net, and I haven't done anything specific to ECU in years. And so I guess it was the end of the 2022 season. And some friends of mine said, I think it's time for you to write another ECU baseball book. And I thought, maybe. And so my plan and what I decided to do was to follow the team kind of throughout the 2023 season more closely than I had, even though I'm a fan and I'm out at the games usually as a fan. So I got press credentials and sat down with Malcolm Gray and Chip Welsh over at ECU and said, I want to follow the team. I don't know what this is going to be yet. And they said, okay, great. And they were incredible. And they were like, here, we'll give you press credentials, which, for someone who was like, I'm not really writing anything yet, and I'm not sure what it's going to be. They were very kind. And so I started out sitting in the press box, which brought me back to my old sports writing days where I did that all the time. And pretty soon I was like, I think I'd rather be in the jungle. So I kind of moved out to the jungle, and I have a lot of friends who sit out there. I have a lot of friends who love the Pirates. And so just started talking to people and running my tape recorder every chance I got and just collecting stories and thinking maybe I'll make this book about the 2023 season, depending on what happens, or maybe it'll be something else. And when the Pirates stopped short of Omaha, I thought, I think what I want to do is really focus on these stories that these people are telling me about kids who have made, pirate baseball community sort of their community. Some kids who have struggled to maybe make friends or have, they have some special needs, and there's some kids like that out there that are just extraordinary, and they have found this, they've been embraced by pirate fans. So some of those types of stories or about relationships between players and fans that just go above and beyond, with the high character players that come into this program who go to a kid's little league game, even though they don't have time to do that, but they've told a kid they're going to do it. And so I had so many of those. And then these committed jungle dwellers and in the stands, I've got some great stories about fans that sit in the third base area and the first base area and right behind home plate who are loud and faithful, and everybody knows who they are. If you go, you know who I'm talking about. And so
Absolutely.
so what I realized was this is unique in the culture of what this program has. I it's rare in the college baseball world, and I know I don't live in the middle of every college baseball community, but I know that what we have here is unique. And I just was so excited about kind of painting that picture and getting to be creative in the way I did it and who I talked to, because I talked to opposing players about their experience, and I talked to players' parents and players themselves and a lot of fans and coaches. I mean, it's kind of runs the gamut. I interviewed Phil Moore, who's the custodian over at the ECU baseball offices, because he has incredible relationships with the players. And so every time I would hear a story that kind of summed up what the ethic and the hope and the spirit of this program was, I would just go talk to that person. And the way it came together, I just think is a beautiful thing. Really, really loved getting to do it. And so many of the people I interviewed are my own friends who I've known for 20 years. And I've never gotten to do a book like that before.
You talk about opposing players. Brandon Golden and I were sharing a story, I believe it was off the air, talking about Cincinnati left fielder Tommy O'Connor getting a sausage dog during last season. And Josh Thomas, who's part of the left field jungle crew, shot that video, was nice enough to let us use it on our YouTube channel. And it received probably 6,000 or 7,000 views and a lot of funny comments.
Yeah, there's so many great stories like that. I interviewed the two Quinnipiac players, Anthony Cruz and Colin Donnelly from 2019. And of course, that was an unforgettable Quinnipiac moment when they were able to beat the Pirates in that first game. But those two players, Colin Donnelly had kind of come in talking a little trash to the jungle, and he actually knew Jake Kuchmaner from summer ball, and so they had sort of a relationship, and there's a lot of that backstory that I was able to cover in the book. But just those two guys had incredible times with the jungle guys, to the point where they still keep up. They keep up with some of the jungle fans, and when I talked to them, I said, you need to come back and go to a game. You would have the best time at a tailgate. And but it was such a huge moment. That weekend was so big for them, obviously. And like Anthony, it was his senior year and it was his final game on the team. And for them to finish their career here in Clark LeClaire with the kind of fan support and excitement and support of them. I mean, they became fan favorites. It was amazing. And another one I interviewed was Jordan Smith from George Mason last year. He was the center fielder. And I was out there and I was just watching the way he was interacting with the center field fans. And I thought, this is something special. And that was a lot of fun. And then the third kind of in that category is Chris Kaler, because he's a Pirate now, but he played on the other side last year with George Washington in the season opening series. And so it was really unique to talk to somebody who had been on both sides and had, just embraced what he experienced as an opposing player, and then had the opportunity to come play. And I can't wait to see him pitch as a Pirate.
Neither can I. Definitely, has the opportunity to potentially be in the rotation for the Pirates this year, and will certainly be a key part of that pitching staff. And like you said, it's such an interesting perspective because he had the chance to pitch for George Washington at East Carolina, and then see what it's all about. And I can only imagine how exciting it was for him to have the opportunity to join the program. But right now, as we continue to talk about Never Take This for Granted, the new ECU baseball book by Bethany Bradsher that will be released coming up in April, I'd like to welcome in my co-host Kyle Barber. Kyle, how are you?
What's going on, Bubba? Sorry to join the podcast so late. I've had a lot going on tonight, a lot of unexpected things that came up. So I apologize to you and our guest, Bethany, and our previous guest. But I'm here now, and you guys carry on, and I'll jump in because obviously I'm a little. I don't even know where you guys are on the conversation, so I apologize.
We're discussing just what a unique book this is, because not only does Bethany get the perspective of Pirate fans, but also current and former Pirate players, and then also opposing players, such as obviously Quinnipiac came in and upset the Pirates in that 2019 regional before East Carolina bounced back and took them, and then NC State, and then Quinnipiac and Campbell to win the region.
With the title "Never Take This for Granted," was it inspired by Keith LeClaire or Parker Bird or both, or none of the above, or what's the title of the book alluding to?
Primarily, it's something I kept seeing on the Pack the Jungle account on Twitter.com. Can I call it Twitter.com? Because that's just what I like to do.
You sure can.
Sure. A lot of people still call it Twitter instead of X.
Well, it is still Twitter.com. So
gotcha.
That's where I was like, then I can keep calling it that. But anyway, I love just what it expresses in terms of the spirit of Pirate fans. And so I kept seeing Jared Plummer, post that whenever something great happened. And just that it says, what we have here is special. It endures regardless of the way the postseason goes or the way the season ends or the record. What we have here is something special that nobody else really has. And players who come in can attest to that they've never seen anything like it. And so that Never Take This for Granted is just such a, great way to express that. So it just very early, I knew that that's what it needed to be called.
Yeah, but it just rings so true to me thinking about Coach LeClaire, and and Parker, et cetera. I mean, just big picture. I mean, the title is so appropriate for ECU baseball, whether you meant it that way or not.
Yeah. Well, there are a whole lot of people who have kind of dealt with real life struggles that go beyond baseball and have been supported by this community in extraordinary ways. Those two that you named, obviously, and it was probably comes as no surprise that Parker and Parker's story are highlighted in the book as well. And I'm so grateful for that. And like me, along with everybody else who follows this team, can't wait to see what's ahead for that young man.
No, definitely.
And when you have the success that ECU baseball has had, I mean, throughout its history, but especially here of late, taking it to another level where we're consistently in super regionals and having so much success on the field, but also off, be it in the classroom or in the community. Cliff Godwin and his staff make sure these guys excel in every facet. And it's very easy, when you fall short of that goal of Omaha, because that is such a passionate and just kind of a sticking point for Pirate Nation wanting to get to Omaha so badly that when you do fall shy, it's easy to overlook, from the outside looking in, at least, just what was truly accomplished and do just that, take it for granted.
Yeah. It really is. And I think because in all of these conversations, and I got to sit around a lot of kitchen tables and go to people's homes and just to see the way this team and the love and devotion that fans have for this team have changed these families, have changed kids, have brought people closer together. I mean, just some really heartwarming things that sports can do that. And way back, I mean, I'm pretty old. So way back when I decided I wanted to be a sports writer, in the late 80s, I had a couple of experiences that just showed me that sports are so much more than the box score and the results, that sports really can endure in ways that I had not thought of before. I started to read some things. The movie Field of Dreams, believe it or not, played into that, and it was like, oh, there's magic here. And I think with ECU baseball, if you really start to look for it, even if you're just out there for a great game and hear the crowds and you're part of things, you go, this is something that is special. And we're blessed to be part of it, honestly.
You talk about the special relationships that exist. I think of Reed Haddock. I believe you may have referenced him earlier.
Yeah.
And just the relationship that he's developed with multiple players, I believe, but definitely Zach Agnos and that lead in to the Zach Agnos walk-up song. That was awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah, I had the best time talking to Reed and his parents, and he's certainly one. His spirit, and I've been out there with him, watching him in left field, and you watch him deflate and inflate with the fate, with what's going on the field. I mean, he follows it. He knows the lineup backwards and forwards. He was like telling me the blow by blow of Travis Watkins' home run at the 2016 regional. And I think he was 5 in 2016. I was like, Reed, how old were you? And then he also proceeded to tell me how they were going to make it to Omaha in great detail. And I had my recorder running and I thought, I'm going to hold on to this because he had it all figured out. So he's extraordinary. And there are a couple other kids, that I got to talk to like that. And it's just amazing because they don't do it because they have to. The players do it because they want to, but they really spend time with kids like that, kids that want to know them and have a relationship. They give them so much of themselves and they go above and beyond. And it's not just going out to the children's hospital or something in an official team capacity, although they do those things. They're true, authentic relationships where there are families in this town that have kind of adopted players, and it's meant the world to both sides. So that kind of thing is just a lot of fun to see and to realize the long-term effect it has long after those players are gone from Greenville.
And Jared Plummer's a regular out there, and in one of Jared's crew, he's right there consistently, with Brian Dilday and his family. I think of Brian and that megaphone. His wife Corinne and was a cheerleader for East Carolina back in the day, and you can tell Brian has that voice of a elementary PE teacher, just like myself.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, the ironic thing is he's the father of the megaphone, but he really doesn't need the megaphone. But one of my favorite evenings in the process of writing this book is I spent about 2.5 hours pretty early in the season when ECU went to Houston to play a series over the weekend, which that wasn't the best weekend for ECU, but I watched one of those games at the Plummer's house with the Dildays. And so we were watching the game and we're having snacks and everything, and they just talked. And I ran a recorder. It was, 2.5 hour tape, and I'm not going to give away all the stories, but just some amazing stories about early in their history in the jungle, particularly Brian and Corinne's, and some kind of, I call them traveling megaphone stories, some of which have been circulated, but some of which I don't think have been as much, of the times that they just go places with the megaphone. And sometimes that ends well and sometimes it doesn't, but just hilarious stories. But they are not afraid to go to great lengths to show their fandom anywhere they are. And, a time that Corinne snuck a fake tree into a stadium. I think that one was in Wilson, in her pants leg. So there's some amazing stuff there, just tidbits. And it was so much fun. And he really is the heart of that jungle, in terms of when he's not there because he's got work or one of his kids have an event, you can tell, when he comes back in, it's like, okay, everybody exhales because they feel like they're in good hands when he's at that megaphone.
You're talking about a lot of relationships between people, players and fans together, fans, becoming like family, as you're talking about there. What's the most, I guess I'll use the word unique or surprising relationship you found through all this between two fans or player and fans, just people that you think, if it wasn't for Pirate baseball, probably would not be friends, and now they have a great relationship with each other?
There's several. I'll mention a couple. Al Glover, who is a really faithful fan. He has this kind of really unique relationship with Lane Hoover's dad, Denny. And kind of the story behind that is Julia and Denny Hoover didn't know where to sit when at Lane's first game as a freshman, because Lane hadn't told them where the parents were supposed to sit. So they just bought tickets and ended up over on the first base side, away from where most of the parents were. But Denny met Al, and they both would say that they're each other's best friend, and Al has been a guy that's just tries to be there for players who need, their car breaks down in the middle of the night, they'll call him, that kind of thing. They need someone to help them change a tire, or and then when Lane had that terrible facial fracture injury down in Georgia, he stayed at Al's house for weeks.
Wow.
And had his jaw wired shut, and they had to feed him applesauce. And, that was just a crazy thing. But the Hoovers, who were 4.5 hours away, knew they could trust him with their son, because they had that relationship that was just randomly born out of this, meeting at the beginning of a game in Clarkville Clare. I love that one. There's also a little girl who's really good friends with Reed Haddock and his neighbor. Her name is Haley Cherry. And she just became very attached to Josh Moylan, and Josh became kind of part of that family. And her passion and her heartbreak when he was a free agent and left, for the Yankees after he wasn't drafted. So she had all this hope that he was going to come back for another season, but she just tickled me. I mean, she's an 11-year-old girl, 12 now, I think, who watches games on repeat. She'll go to YouTube and watch old games and sit and listen to sports radio. And
she keeps that passion.
Yeah, it's because of Josh and her family. They're Pirate fans. They go to things, but they have a new level of dedication to baseball because of her and because of their relationship with him. And there was something she said to me. She was talking about when she found out that Josh was leaving for the Yankees, and she was just crying. And she said to me, "I just cried and cried." And my mom came in and she said, "Do you want to go to the mall?" And I looked at her and I said, "I don't think that's going to help." It's just that extreme emotion. But a little girl who, most middle school girls, that is not their focus. But it just was really sweet. And just to hear her parents talk about what it meant to them to see him, Josh and other players care for her. It just meant the world to them. So those are a couple of the examples.
You talk about the travels of Brian Dilday's megaphone. I won't dive too deeply into this because it's probably a story that's in the book. But did the story about the trip to NC State? I want to say it was around 2009. Okay, I figured that was making the cut.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, it's so funny because last year when I was traveling the team, I went to the 2023 game at NC State, and Brian didn't try to get his megaphone through the gate because he had been there, done that, and he didn't think it was going to work. But things were getting a little bit tense toward the end of the game, and the Pirates were trailing, but not by very much. And they were kind of over on the third base side, not really in left field, the jungle crew, the left field crew. And the next thing I knew, I looked up and he had gone out to his car and gotten his megaphone and he had stuck it over the fence. So he was, yelling as loud as he could from the fence line with the megaphone. I took a picture. It's going to be in the book. So it was just that kind of spirit of, hey, it's time for the megaphone and we're going to stick it over this fence and get it as much into this field as we possibly can. And, that just cracked me up.
I wish I'd have known this book was in the works because I had some excellent pictures, and you may have gotten your hands on some of these from the 2023 regional up at Charlottesville and the University of Virginia. Of course, could not get the megaphones in, so the guys had
the cardboard. I have some because I was there. I was up there with them.
This is not a megaphone.
It's not a megaphone. And then the stadium official came over, and so they folded them flat and took the tape off, and then he walked away and they folded them right back up. So it was a sign again for about 15, 20 seconds. And then it was a megaphone again. So yeah, I have some pretty good ones of that too. That was a great trip, even though the ending of it wasn't great. But in terms of to see the way the Pirate fans traveled and the way they transformed, Disharoon Field. I mean, I kind of cracked up when UVA put something on its Instagram about broken attendance records. And I was like, that was, at least 40%, if not more, Pirate fans. But just to hear, I heard some UVA fans kind of amazed at what they were experiencing, and others were kind of ugly. And the passions were high. I'll say that, as you know, because you were there. But it was a great experience. And I hung out with Chu and Sharon Justice, who are friends of mine who have a big camper van, and they travel everywhere with the Pirates. And they've gotten to know a lot of the players' families, so they tailgate. So they were just players' families stopping by the tailgate for the whole weekend, and I kind of got to experience it from that side as well.
Yeah, I had a pretty funny picture that I'll share with you after the show. But during the East Carolina UVA game, I think it was the first meeting, but that point in time, it was either a tied game or the Pirates had the lead, and some of our fans on the first base or right field line were doing a purple gold cheer. Some loud cheering nonetheless, and you saw an older UVA fan. She had her fingers in her ears. And so as you can imagine, I turned that into a meme and sent it to tens of Pirates that
Yes.
they got a good laugh from it.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what you want to see. That's
Yeah.
what you want to see. That's amazing. I love that.
But as we wrap things up,
Mhm.
tell folks all the particulars and then the specifics of when the book will be released. I know you said sometime in April, and
Yeah.
where they can buy it, and pre-orders and all those sorts of things.
Sure. So I was awaiting the schedule release in November, anxiously because I wanted to pick a good weekend, but I knew it needed to be April because of the time it took to finish the book, and we have to get the printing done and all that. So we're going to be cutting it close, but we'll make it. And when I saw Wichita State on the schedule, I thought that's the weekend. That's going to be a big grudge match after last year, and it'll be warm. We released the Coaching Third during the LeClaire Classic and in 2010, and it was really cold in early March. So I was like, maybe it'll be a little bit more spring-like. And so April 19th is the official release date. I know I have a book signing at Kaufman's Menswear on April 20th from 11 to 3. So Todd Howell, being Johnny on the spot, has already scheduled that and is doing promotions for it. I know the book will be available at Dowdy Student Stores, UBE, all the usual places, probably Barnes & Noble as well, and on Amazon. And their pre-orders will be live March 19th. So a month before the book comes out, March 19th. And you can pre-order it on the website, ecubaseballbook.com. So we're trying to get the website live. My publisher has had some issues with the hosting company, and I don't know what's going on, but there's not much to say yet, but we'll be putting some things up there, between now and when the pre-orders are official. And I'll just keep you guys posted so you can let your listeners know as well.
Sounds
So
great.
March 19th, April 19th.
And Justin Butts chiming in saying he looks forward to being able to get his hands on the book, and several others chiming in as well. I know it'll be an excellent read. Really enjoyed Coaching Third. And Kyle, did you have something else?
No, looking forward to the book. I didn't even know about it, so really looking forward to it. It's a surprise for me. So
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to reading it when it comes out in April.
Great. Well, I'll come back on and talk to you again when it comes out if you guys would like.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll have some baseball to talk about then, so that'll be great.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll be talking about excellent first 2 months of the season.
Yeah.
And the Pirates positioning themselves nicely for a fifth straight AAC title, and hopefully hosting a regional again in 2024. But really appreciate half hour or so of your time, Bethany.
Yeah.
Tell Pirate Nation how they can follow you on social media, and also read your work.
Sure. Well, I'm easy. My name is weird. It's Bethany Bradsher on everything. So I have it's just my name, on twitter.com and on Instagram and on Facebook. So I'll be posting more details about the book and about website being live, and anything that there is to say, we'll put it up there so you'll know about it. And I know Pirate fans are going to be excited. I sure am too. And I can't wait to get it into the hands of Pirate Nation.
Again, appreciate the visit, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good night.
All right. You as well. Pirate Nation, that is Bethany Bradsher, the author of Never Take This for Granted, the new ECU baseball book that talks about the unique relationships that exist between Pirate Nation and ECU baseball fans at Clark LeClaire Stadium or wherever the Pirates are in action. So
Yeah, it
that'll be an
should be a good
I
read.
can't wait. Sorry,
No, I was just saying it should be a good read.
but something else on the baseball front before we maybe discuss another topic or two and wrap the show up. Um, One of the things that some exciting news from the last few days. I guess the first I heard of it, and I knew this was in the works, but became official on Saturday night, or excuse me, I guess Friday night, Saturday night at the baseball banquet, um, the annual ECU baseball banquet. It's really the signals the start of a new season, and that is the 23 club, ECU's baseball's own NIL. Um, Mike Harrington and several former players are really spearheading that effort, but smart with the momentum that Team Boneyard has established to partner with them and keep everything under that hat.
Yeah, no doubt. You should whenever you're dealing with NIL, you should probably be real smart in who you partner with, Bubba. But with that said, glad to hear that there is an exclusive NIL for baseball that's teamed up with Team Boneyard. Obviously, baseball is a sport. Football's going to always drive the bus, but baseball's the one that's always the consistent winner, and we really need to make sure we're competing at the highest level, and that's going to take NIL for baseball too.
And they do have their own web address, and just go to the23club.org, and then that will redirect you to where you can make a donation. And they have several options. I think $10 a month, $23 a month, $50 a month, etc., or a one-time gift. Very much like what Team Boneyard has set up for all sports and for NIL purposes. So definitely look forward to Mike Harrington has agreed to come on the show, and we'll have Mike on here in the coming days to discuss the 23 club and just talk a little Pirate baseball.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. No, I'm glad to see ECU. Unfortunately, in this day and age of NIL, that we have to do it, but glad to see ECU fan base um, take NIL seriously. But it seems not just in baseball, but football, everything. It seems like that our approach to NIL has just changed dramatically over the last 6 months.
Yeah, it really has. I know we've discussed it as far as just our perspective on Pirate football due to what we've done in the transfer portal, and a large part of that has undoubtedly been as a result of Team Boneyard and the hard work those folks have done, getting some very generous donations and being able to bring in, Caton Hauser, Winston Wright Jr., uh, Omega Blake from South Carolina, and some very
Garcia.
Jake Garcia, some very nice pieces out of the portal.
Yeah, no doubt. And so it continues with baseball, and I think you got to do it. I know taking JUCOs and transfers has become a big thing in baseball, particularly the JUCOs, and that coach hasn't embraced that as much as some other coaches have, and it'll be interesting to see going forward with NIL, and will we start embracing? And I know we did take some transfers, but it'll be interesting to see if we start taking more, and in baseball, and NIL would have to be a large part of that.
Yeah, certainly. And with baseball, my thing, and this is something I've shared with you guys, and I know other programs are pushing for this. With 11.7 scholarships in baseball, looking at that difference between an in-state scholarship and most East Carolina baseball players, if they're receiving scholarship money, and they're actually some very key contributors, starters, multi-year starters that have not been receiving scholarship money just because of the way the system is and the way the money has to be divvied up. You have the 25% rule. Anybody receiving scholarship money has to receive at least 25%, and that's been in place for several years now. So with that being the case, if someone is receiving scholarship money, most guys are between 25 and 50% or thereabouts. Definitely no one much beyond half of a scholarship. And looking at that gap between 25% of an in-state scholarship or 25% of that out-of-state scholarship, if the 23 club can generate $1 million or $1.5 million annually, that would put ECU baseball in tremendous position to be able to really, in essence, have a full scholarship for each player on the roster if it chose to use the money in that way.
Yeah, no doubt, and it'll be interesting to see how the money is divvied out, and you know, the whole baseball scholarship limit that should be raised anyway. But anyway, but no, I like that idea. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the money.
Very generous supporter of the show, and we talk about support, and we appreciate Big Ed Watkins Marine, who came on board in 2024. They're the title sponsor for Absolute Empowerment, but I really appreciate Big Ed and his support of the program. They have 2 locations to serve you in and around the greater Charlotte area, in Denver and Cornelius. In Denver, they can be found on North Carolina Highway 16 Business, and then in Cornelius, they are located on West Catawba Avenue. You can reach the Denver store 704-483-BOAT. Again, 704-483-BOAT at the Denver store. And in Cornelius, they can be reached 704-498-4985, 704-498-4985. Again, edwatkinsmarine.com. Fishing boats, center consoles, family-friendly bow riders, trailers, pontoon boats, engines, UTVs, you name it, they can help you meet all of your boating needs, whether you're buying a new boat or repowering your existing boat.
Yeah, there you go. Get on the water.
Yep. It'll be boating weather before you know it, so go ahead and take care of that existing boat, or if you're in the market for a boat, and that way when it warms up, you're ready to roll. But speaking of ready to roll, Absolute Empowerment had its most recent episode last night, and that was with current Ohio State strength coach, assistant AD for football sports performance, and a guy that has nearly 40 years in the business. Also spent time at Florida with Urban Meyer, Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken, and has had the opportunity to be a part of 3 national title teams, and that's Mickey Marotti. So go back and check that conversation out that Coach C had with the current strength and conditioning coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes and longtime friend Mickey Marotti, who was at Cincinnati back in the 90s when Coach C was at ECU with Coach Logan during his first stint with the program.
So Mickey worked for Rick Minner.
Correct. Yep. Had that connection there, and they actually, I think, dove into a story or two about that association and some of those old battles between the Pirates and Bearcats back in the mid to late 90s.
Ever tell you? I'm sure I have. I don't know if I've ever told it on the air. So I'll tell it on the air real fast. I used to listen to the Conference USA Coaches Teleconference every week. Okay, and this is dial-up internet days, and it was all the football coaches for the week. From Steve Logan to Rick Minner, Jeff Bauer. All these classic names, Chris Selfo, et cetera, et cetera. That were at Conference USA at the time. They would do their media calls for the week, and I had the number where you could call and listen. I wasn't a media member at the time. I was just listening, and Rick Minner every week would be the most excited, but for some reason, it sounded like he was talking on a Sports Illustrated sneaker phone. I swear to God, he had a Sports Illustrated sneaker phone in his office. It was the worst sounding phone in the world. It would always, it was horrible sounding. But anyway, that was just a terrific story that I'm sure everybody just couldn't live without. But anyway, just a quick little Rick Minner story.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that with me, and that's funny. I remember that commercial about the Sports Illustrated sneaker phone.
Yeah, no, it was horrible connection. Yeah, of course, the Sports Illustrated. 30 streaker phone was classic. Now it seems so friggin' lame, but at the time as a kid, you wanted one.
Because I remember my dad laughing about it. I guess, like you're saying, he was, I guess,
An,
at least
an adult.
early to mid 40s,
Yeah.
at least early to mid 40s, my age. So it was a joke to him. He said, "Yeah, that just makes me want to go out and buy Sports Illustrated so I can get that phone."
But you wanted it, I'm sure, because I did. But
I'm sure I probably did because that was cool just just like when I got a phone that was a very simple, cheap, basic phone, but it played the ECU fight song, so it was awesome.
I was a NASCAR fan growing up, and I had a Kyle Petty number 42 mellow yellow diecast phone. It literally looked like a 124 scale uh, diecast NASCAR car, but it was a phone.
Yeah. So before we get out of
And
here,
this has been novelty phone chat.
hey, as Dave would say, I guess we're phone nerds,
We're
right?
phone nerds, absolutely. Novelty phone nerds.
But before we get out of here, you have Pirates Unite, the capital campaign, and we've talked about Team Boneyard and contributing to NIL, but we still need to get this IPF done, the indoor practice facility, long overdue. So if you have not contributed and you're able to do so, go to ecupirateclub.com or call 252-737-4540.
I called the other day, and Ryan Robinson himself answered the phone.
Oh, really?
Did I tell you that, Bubba?
Yeah. I'm sure you probably did, but
yeah, I called the other day.
He's being busy. I probably saw it and forgot about it.
Yeah, I called. It may have been Friday. I had a question, and he answered the phone. Hey, this is Ryan, and I was talking to him, asking my question, and suddenly it occurred to me who Ryan was. So Ryan, they got you answering the phone. So he then he wanted to know who it was, and I told him who it was, and he said, "Oh yeah, sometimes I like to answer the phone and just get to know people." But anyway, so Ryan doing the hard work over there at the Pirate Club, Ryan Robinson. They got Ryan working the phones. So anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting. You don't expect to hear the hit of the Pirate Club answer the phone when you call to answer a question to ask a question about your donation.
Right. And last I saw, we were closing in on 20 million, 19 and change perhaps. The price tag going to be 23 to 25 million. And then the baseball ops building and mezzanine down the left field line. Nice premium viewing area for Pirate fans at Clark LeClaire. The price tag of that project is right around 7 million, and I believe we're right around 5 as far as money in hand. But thanks to generous donations, of several former players as well as just loyal supporters of the program that are just fans. I mentioned Mike Harrington earlier. I know he and his family in the real estate business down in the Wilmington area, and they made a very generous 6-figure donation, as have multiple former players. Bryant Ward, current UCLA assistant coach, his father, who's long supported the program and was an ECU golfer, and then Earl Boykin, Boykin Sporting Goods in Wilson. I know you're familiar with Earl Boykin, and his family made a generous $100,000 donation.
Yeah, all the big donors really appreciate it. Of course, small donors too. It takes all of us, but the couldn't do it without the big donors. So appreciate their giving. Bubba, quickly before we get out of here, I don't know if you mentioned it or not. If it's been all baseball talk, obviously a big win Sunday over Temple. The 8 coming down from 8, winning in overtime by 6. Big game against South Florida coming up.
Yeah, Matt and I, we did discuss it on Pirate Basketball Overtime, but yes, a lot of momentum. Definitely have to shoot the ball much better, and just
got to shoot it smarter too. In overtime, Clearly, it was blatantly obvious Temple was worn out, completely worn out. And taking some of those long threes when you could see they were that tired, and we were much better conditioned. We should have been. We won it by 6 in overtime. We could have won it by 12 in overtime. We should have been driving the ball down their throats. They'd have fouled us every time. They were worn out. We should have been driving the ball to the basket in that situation. But got the win, so they can't complain.
Yep. As you said, it was looking pretty bleak. And Matt and I told the story, of him thinking we lost. He was out to eat with his family, and
so when did y'all do that? Was that Sunday night?
I believe it was actually yesterday.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, it was last night, Sunday night. Just different things going on, unable to do the show.
Right. Yeah.
And then decided to do one last night.
I think this is the first. I don't remember. I don't know the last time I did a show. Bubba, do you remember the last time I did a show?
I think it was probably about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, it seems like it was longer than that. I'm out of practice. I feel like
it may have been 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been forever. I was having, I was on the phone, had some important phone calls tonight, and I finally said, "Look, I got to go do part of the show, or people gonna think I'm dead."
Let me see here. Yeah, I think it was the show back on the 15th where we were talking about new Pirates from the portal.
Okay, all right.
So there you go. Just over 2 weeks.
Yeah, seems like it's been longer than that, but yeah, I been a little MIA, and just how it is these days, and we'll get refocused, and hopefully all four of us can get going here as baseball season is fast approaching, and there will be a lot to talk about.
And on the Pirate Club front, there was excellent news in recent days as far as day of impact giving, or the impact fund.
You heard about my donation?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Kyle Barber turning heads on with his generous gift.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But no. In all seriousness, as you say, I know you're joking and just kind of poking fun at yourself, but all gifts matter, and a lot of folks think, well, I can only give 100, 150, $200, and
well, then give it.
Yeah, when you no gift's too small. When you're giving a couple $100.
Hey, look, if you look $250, shit. I mean, that gets you to the second level. That's not even the minimum. The minimum's only $100. If you can give $250, yeah, you better be giving. You're gonna be a buccaneer or a swashbuckler. Which one are you?
I believe I'd have to go back and all those kind of blend together, because I know I believe it's what the next level up.
But the bottom level's crew, then the next level up is either buccaneer or swashbuckler. I forget which one.
So definitely you can go to ecupirateclub.com or just do the old school route, 252-737-4540. And Blaze Hudson or one of the Pirate Club staff.
And look, you can give monthly too. Even if you give as little as $100, you can divide that up over 12 months if you got to.
Exactly. About $8.50 a month.
Yeah, exactly. And I think about that. I mean, if you let's say you want to give $250, you want to do more than just the minimum. I mean, what is that a month? About $21 a month for 12 months. Is that right?
Yeah.
So something like that. So, I mean, that's like 2 trips to Bojangles by yourself.
Yeah. You break it up into manageable parts, but appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. Definitely we'll have more content headed your way very soon. We'll have Pirate basketball overtime on Wednesday night. Kyle talks about the momentum of that comeback win as the Pirates rallied from down 8 in the final 2.5 minutes against the Temple Owls, looking to make it 3 straight on Wednesday, as they will be taking on the South Florida Bulls.
Have we ever won 3 straight in the American?
We have not. we attempted to do it earlier this year, but obviously failed. And so that gives you an idea of where this program's been, but then also that we're making strides. Never as fast as anybody would like, but 4-4 right now in league play, 11-10 overall, and a lot of good things could be ahead for this team this year. And if we can continue to play excellent defense and get a little better on the offensive end, better shot selection, and when we get them, knock them down. But the South Florida Bulls, again, coming in on tomorrow night. The Bulls, their best team that they've had in over 20 years up to this point, 13-5 or 13-6, and 6-1, just a half game back in the American, very much in the championship hunt. What a job that Abdur Rahim and that staff have done since coming in from Kennesaw State.
Yeah, no, South Florida having a very good season, along with Memphis, North Texas. The good league. I think bracketology has us with us, meaning the American, 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. So you add the NIT to that, and perhaps CBI. If we're a 3-bid league and the Pirates can post a winning season, we'll definitely get a CBI invite. The question is, will we take it?
I would certainly hope so. Just with where our program is,
yeah,
I think it would be foolish to not do so.
I agree with you.
But this Bulls team, they've won 5 straight and 11 of their last 12. So we'll definitely have to continue to play that excellent defense and step things up offensively tomorrow night, as USF, I think, is averaging 76 or 77 points a game. As far as the Pirate Club's concerned, appreciate that. William says the swashbuckler level is 250. So
swashbuckler, all right.
Okay, so it goes from crew to swashbuckler. I was doubting myself there and didn't take the time to look it up, but appreciate that, William, and you tuning in as always. And let's see, Justin Butts said that UVA regional atmosphere was great, no doubt. And then LOL, he says only issue was the 4 beer limit that sucked. And he said, can we get a book of Kyle's greatest 5th quarter call-ins? LOL.
A book. You want them written? We need an audio book.
Yeah, audio book. There we go.
Yeah, an audio book. I mean, if you just want me to write down shit I've said, if I can remember it, I'll see if we can do it.
Clip Brock, Shirley Rose. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, I'm doing it myself. I'm not. Clip and Shirley are not going to profit off my words.
And then you have Robert Matthews. Appreciate you chiming in as always, Robert. He said our ECU baseball general admission season tickets sold out.
Yep. Oh, yeah, not the jungle.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bubba.
Yeah, no, I'm honestly not 100%. I know last year they were, and I know when I checked with Coleman Spain at the ticket office several weeks back, and we were ahead of last year's pace. But if you're interested, you can give them a call. Worst they can tell you is no. And even if you're unable to get season tickets, of course there'll be plenty available. You can check the hoist the colors, and then obviously the other message
Boneyard Banner ticket
Boneyard Banner, and then Facebook groups.
And then some of the secondary ticket sites like SeatGeek. What's the other ones, Bubba?
Normally, TickPick is one that doesn't have fees. I've not purchased ECU baseball tickets through TickPick, being a season ticket holder, but I have used the TickPick app for professional games in both NBA and MLB, and very efficient. No fees like some of the other secondary markets and so forth. With SeatGeek and different ones, so you don't have to pay.
StubHub's the one.
StubHub is the one I was trying to think of. So yeah, plenty of tickets to be had for a lot of games. Just the nature of baseball and having 30 plus home games, you're gonna have those games where tickets are bought, but out of towners like myself that are 3+ hours away just simply can't get there. And Pirate Nation, do everything you can. Like Jeff Palumbo was urging Pirate fans in his interview with Hoist the Colors several weeks back, do everything you can to get those tickets into the hands of other Pirate fans so we don't have empty seats.
Yeah, no doubt. Because even though we were sold out last year of season tickets, there was a lot of games that were sparsely attended, particularly early in the year. And that could be a case with weather. No matter what, you can give your tickets away. Somebody else might want to go sit out in the cold. But it's a shame to have sold out season tickets and have 2,000 people or 1,500 people there for some games. But sometimes that's just the way it is with weather and early season games.
And it is remarkable the demand, for some of those individual tickets. Single
Oh yeah,
game,
NC
single
State,
games,
UNC, et
midweek
cetera.
game.
Yeah.
I mean, you had them going for a couple $100, and people were buying their season tickets with that one game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you have the in-state opponents coming to town, the demand is very high. Quality baseball in this area, and yeah, ECU, UNC, ECU, NC State, ECU, Duke, whoever, Wilmington is always going to be a draw. Charlotte now a conference rival.
Yep. And speaking of Charlotte, that'll be a good way to close this edition of the program. The Pirates will be in Charlotte on Saturday afternoon. So all Western North Carolina Pirates, upstate of South Carolina Pirates, those that are within a 2-3 hour radius of Charlotte and Halton Arena, get out to watch the Pirates. Charlotte is currently tied with Florida Atlantic atop the conference at 7-1. So we really need a strong contingent. Definitely have plenty of ECU fans and supporters, alums in this area. They showed up and showed out against Charlotte last year in baseball and really painted the ballpark downtown purple and created a rowdy atmosphere. Let's do the same on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, no doubt. Charlotte got us in football, so we need to return the favor in basketball.
But that will do it for this edition of the Sports Objective. Be sure to follow us on social media, on X at the Sports OBJ, on Instagram and TikTok at the Sports Objective. Like and follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And when you subscribe on YouTube, be sure to click that notification bell and all. That way, anytime we go live or upload new content, you're alerted on your device. But for Kyle Barber, and then, of course, also Brandon Golden and Bethany Bradsher, our two guests on this show, and as well as the absent Dave Richmond and Matt Semenza, you've been watching and listening to the Sports Objective. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.